paid the money and now she blocks you. It just made it bigger, she's censoring. It's in all over TV, all over radio. People are all over. I talked to folks flying in. Buckley said like half the folks on the plane were talking about it. When I got off the plane in Cleveland, I had like 6 different people run up to me as I'm walking through who were already just in the airport saying, we already saw you confront Karl Rove. That wasn't even that big a deal. I'm saying we're the new media. You're the new media. Start your own YouTube channel. Start your own news articles. Get involved. Get in the fight, folks. All we're doing is calling out the emperor has no clothes. And support the broadcast. DNA Force, 25% off. Our top nutraceutical. Nerve growth factor. Patents proven. Top of the line. Detox your cells. Get in there to the mitochondria. The engines. I mean, I still look like hell. And I work and play hard, folks. But I look a hell of a lot better than I used to. And it's taking DNA Force. And it's taking things like the good Halogen X2. InfoWarsLife.com. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. I'm coming to you from literally 300 yards from the entrance to the big Republican, that's right, what's it called? Quicken Loans Arena. For some reason, I can't get that in my head. We always have stupid names of corporations now. And I it's like Staples Center and Walmart Center. But I'm saying their name, though. It's what they want. So I guess it worked out right there. So whatever. We're going to be in there some. And I love old people, and they're great. And when they're patriots, they have such wisdom, and I love them. But I tell you, you see these delegates that were trying to steal stuff for the Republican leadership, and I'm telling you, they are angry, and they're on average about 85 years old. And I'm telling you, this whole Republican establishment is emblematic of how it is falling, just like the Democrats are. And I ran a lot of old folks as well that are Trump supporters, and they're awesome, and they're so much more animated than the old mean Republicans that think they're the sovereigns, like George Will said. We don't care what your popular vote is. We're the sovereigns. That's an arrogant piece of garbage. We'll be back with David Knight, myself, and more. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress to you that when I get up here and I talk about the Chinese fleet and the U.S. fleet openly saying they may have a war any day. That's like the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Chinese president says they're at battle stations for war. We've got U.S. advisors fighting Russians in eastern Ukraine. The Russians are moving missiles in. Putin's warning the world. And Putin comes out last week and a month before that and says, do you understand that we're going towards war and that you're starting it? You need to have a debate about this. There's nothing in our news to speak of, or it's like the back of the paper. And so for me, beyond Black Lives Matter, beyond George Soros, who's again behind what's happening in Russia, we just really have to understand things are serious and the world is going into crisis. And this happened before World War I, it happened before World War II, and most political analysts and historians are saying that we're going into a very, very dangerous period. Now I'm going to go jump in a car, get down over to the park where I'm going to give this speech in about 30 minutes. We've got coming up Leanne McAdoo and Margaret Howell. I'll be popping in with David Knight. But I'm going to hand the baton to you, David Knight. I want to thank you and the rest of the crew for the great work you're doing, my friend. I want to thank you for the courage you've got, with your wife and children, letting you. But you've got one of your sons working with us, Travis, one of our best camera people. So he's doing a great job as well. But it's got to be surreal to not just be alive right now, David, but to be in the middle of it, my friend, and to see so many good things happening, but also so many bad things happening. David Knight.
Absolutely, Alex. It truly is amazing as this stuff plays out. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen this afternoon. And again, in just I guess it's about a half hour. It's the bottom of the hour. You're going to be speaking at the America First Unity Rally. I think that's going to be very important. It's important that we get to these places. And Alex, as you know, when we went to the Alamo, the open carry rally that we had, the Alamo, we had 1,000 people carrying weapons. And nobody had a problem with it. Now we're seeing a lot of people, a lot of articles I've seen questioning the idea of whether or not there should be open carry in anywhere in Cleveland.
But didn't the governor, I'm only going off this since I heard on the local radio last night driving in, didn't the governor do the right thing and say, no, I'm not revoking the open carry?
Absolutely. He doesn't have the authority to do that. And the police union chief was wrong calling him to do that. But I think an important thing that comes out of all this back and forth conflict that has been created by Obama, I think it's very interesting when we look at this shooter. The fact that he was a black ex-Marine and that 2 of his police victims, the first one was a black man, just like the shooter was, and another one was an ex-Marine, just like the shooter. Okay, the black man the black cop that he shot had
Exactly.
a 4-month-old child, and the ex-Marine had 4 children. And you know what makes this different, Alex, is that Obama has tried to get people to focus not on what people have in common, not what this shooter had in common with these people, one of them being black, one of them being an ex-Marine, but to focus on what is different between them. That's the way the Democrat Party, that's the way Obama...
David, that's perfectly said. And I mean, I think you should do a whole report on that, about our shared humanity and how clearly Obama keeps trying to say we need to reform the police every time more cops get killed, implying this is your fault, that he himself and the media have hyped this up. He is literally one of the main authors of this, then blaming random police. Now to take the head of the police union here, he's done the right thing, saying Obama's basically behind this and is stoking the flames and is horrible. And I am for open carry, and I get the perspective of people that want to be open carry. And, you know, we've got folks here, obviously, I'm not going to get into it, for protection as well. I just get their fear of not being able to then tell who's got a gun and who doesn't, because, well, they're going to think, they're going to check good guys as well as bad guys now. They want to be able to just pick out the few that have guns and be able to do something in case it's a jihadi or a Black Lives Matter issue. But then, I'm sorry, terrorist attacking can't be used to take our rights. They have terrorists attacking saying give up your free speech. Well, they have terrorists attacking saying give up your guns. So I'm sorry to the police union. I can see their point, but the Second Amendment trumps everything. And so that's what this country's all about. It's why 1776 happened. David, they'll be carrying my feed live when I give the speech here in about 30 minutes. Thank you so much, my friend. I'm going to hand the baton to you. Folks, stay with us. History's happening. Spread the word about the local station you're listening to or the stream or video feed you're watching right now, because you are the power of this broadcast.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight on this Monday, July 18th, 2016, the beginning of the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, Ohio. We just heard Alex Jones reporting live from Cleveland. We're going to be joining him at the bottom of the hour. He's going to be speaking at the America First Unity Rally there in Cleveland, along with many other speakers that are there. We're going to be going that live at 12:30 our time, so it's going to be about 20 minutes from now. And as we were talking in the last section about the way this has worked out, about this Black Lives Matter murder and the people that he killed, and the fact that he was focusing on what was different, when in reality he had a lot in common with the people that he killed. But I want to read to you, before we go to Joe Biggs, he's ready to join us in Cleveland, I want to read to you real quickly a couple of things that were on his Facebook page. Some of the last things that he put up just before he was killed. The slain Baton Rouge black police officer said, "Please don't let hate infect your heart." He said, "I swear to God, I love this city, but I wonder if this city loves me." Now, that was the black cop that died. His sister said, "It's coming to the point where no lives matter." She said, her name is Jocelyn Jackson. She said she understands the anger behind the movement of Black Lives Matter, but she said, God gives nobody the right to kill, to take another person's life. And you have to understand, even though they're protesting, and this is an ambiguous shooting there in Baton Rouge, these officers, even though they were in the Baton Rouge Police Department, they were not directly involved in that. They had absolutely no involvement in that shooting, just cold-blooded murder and a misdirection of blame, if there is blame to be had in that particular shooting. That's yet to be determined. She said, it's coming to the point, this is the sister of the black police officer who was killed. She said, it's coming to the point where no lives matter, whether you're black or you're white or you're Hispanic or whatever. And that's what I was just saying to Alex Jones. What Obama has done, what Hillary has done, what the Democrat Party in general has done, they have achieved their power and continue to achieve their power by getting us to focus on what separates us, what is different about us. And as I pointed out, this killer, this cold-blooded killer, was black, and he was an ex-Marine. 2 of the 3 victims that he shot, one was black, and another one was an ex-Marine. And they had families, and they were innocent. They were not involved in that shooting. Now, at the same time, we have the police, I believe, overreacting. We've got the head of the police union was right when he said that Obama has blood on his hands because he is fomenting this kind of division that I just pointed out. But at the same time, he comes out and says, well, I think the governor ought to just set aside the open carry laws that we have here in Ohio. You know, the police don't have that authority. The governor doesn't have that authority. The rule of law means that the governor as well as the police are under the law. The law is king. The law is king. Lex Rex was what the founders of this country talked about with that. I want to join Joe Biggs. He had a comment he wanted to make about whether or not open carry should be banned in Cleveland. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Joe Biggs here, Infowars.com, live from Cleveland, where the RNC has now taken place. Emotions are high. There's walls built within the city by people who think walls don't work, which is kind of the funny thing. We also have a sheriff that's coming out talking about the fact that these cop killings in Baton Rouge, Dallas last week, that they should suspend the Second Amendment for the citizens of Ohio. Here in Cleveland, during the RNC, I have a huge issue with that.
Yeah.
We have that right. There are bad people who have been busted, Soros-funded groups who are coming out here to cause trouble. You've got the new Black Panther Party that's come out here armed to the teeth. We have that right. We have that ability. We should be able to protect ourselves. And then you have people like Don Lemon coming out talking about these killings, and then Sheriff David Clarke saying, you know what? Black Lives Matter is Black Lives Matter. This is BS. It's a terroristic organization. We need to put a stop to that. And we already have different concerts lined up that are like Rage Against the Machine to help incite these anti-Trumpers into going out in the streets, getting agitated, and then possibly doing something. So tensions are high. Emotions are running high. It's going to be interesting to see how this week folds out, David.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this because this broke just before we went to air, but now we've had another police officer, the most senior police officer, Joe, in the Freddie Gray case in Baltimore has been found not guilty of manslaughter. It's possible this is going to be another trigger for the Black Lives Matter people, and it's an excuse to come after people. As we've pointed out, we looked at The Hill. They said, they quoted a person who was there at the convention. He said, most people going to the convention are concerned that protesters are going to turn the city upside down, that we're going to have some kind of a split screen with Donald Trump speaking and Molotov cocktails being thrown on the other side of the split screen. So that's what everybody's concerned about. There's massive provisions underway for thousands of people to be able to be incarcerated there by the Cleveland police. So they're expecting a lot of unrest, and I don't think that this verdict on the Freddie Gray case that came down today, I don't think that's going to help anything any.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to help fuel these protesters who've been paid to come in here and start stuff. They're going to use that as a catalyst to go in and attack people. They've already been calling for attacks on white people, white police officers. They destroyed their narrative yesterday when one of the guys actually went out and shot and killed a black police officer and left that little baby that's never going to have a father again. This is all fueled by hate. This is all fueled by George Soros. And this is something that people need to wake up to and understand. You're creating more division. You're not helping the situation out whatsoever. There's a lot of love in this country, and there's a lot of people that I see out here of all race, all color. It doesn't matter. People here want to have a loving environment. They want to stop the hate. And just because you support Donald Trump doesn't mean you're a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, an Islamophobic. I could go on and on with all these stupid names that people call them. They're backless. There's nothing based off of it. They're just mad that this guy rose up and is becoming something that has created a movement so big it's a tidal wave of patriotism that's about to sweep this country.
You know, Joe, as we're talking about this idea of the Second Amendment and whether or not it should be suspended because of political situation, I recall many different protests that InfoWars has covered. And as my sons said to me, the only time they had not been attacked when they were covering a protest was when there were armed people as part of the protest. That was when it was peaceful. When only one side had arms, it seems like things got out of control over and over again. But there's this article from McClatchy that came out today. And actually, it's on Friday. It looked hopeful at first, but what they did was they tried to use even the Second Amendment to divide black versus white. Here's the title. It says, for black gun owners, bearing arms is a civil rights issue. And I looked at it, it's like, great. Yeah, that's right. Of course, it's not just a civil rights issue for black gun owners. It's a civil rights issue for all of us because the Second Amendment is a key part of our civil rights. But they go through and they talk about one particular guy who set up a Facebook page. He's about a year and a half. He's got 11,000 members who are following his Facebook page. And they go back to the tradition that began with Frederick Douglass talking about the different boxes that our power as citizens, our rights as men lay in, the cartridge box, the ballot box, and the jury box. But then they go on to say, black gun owners say that they have battled racism from within pro-gun circles and at shooting ranges. And it's like, I have not seen that at all. Okay, I've not seen that at all. I have seen a lot of, I agree with the second part of it. They say, and from fellow African Americans who don't always share their view of gun ownership as a civil rights imperative. And we see that as well as white gun owners. We see that people get angry with us. Other white people get angry with us because we have guns. I'm sure he sees that as a black man. But I don't see that kind of racism. Maybe it's the particular shooting range